Hello everybody and welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary. My name's Bill and I love Irish whiskey, so much so that I have devoted all of March to it. So March I will be covering Irish whiskey, and right now I'm going to teach you about Irish whiskey. So I am the Whiskey Dictionary. Makes sense to start off with a definition. So let's go into that, but I'm not going to define it in a way that's going to make you glaze over. I'm going to put it in terms that we can all understand, right? So Irish whiskey needs to be distilled and matured in Ireland. That's not much of a shock. It needs to be distilled to under 94.8% ABV, which means it can't be stronger than that before it goes into the barrel. It needs to be fermented by yeast, and it needs to be comprised of a mash of cereal grains. So it's got a lot in common with most whiskeys of the world, except it has to be made in Ireland. And the rules around it aren't too crazy. So it does not need to be triple distilled, like you might expect with things like Jameson or Tullamore Dew, who are triple distilled. So that is not a requirement. There are also 4 styles of Irish whiskey. So you've got single malt Irish whiskey, which is produced at a single distillery using malted barley, entirely of malted barley, and distilled in a pot still. Then you've got single pot still whiskey, which needs once again to be in a pot still, but it's comprised of both malted and unmalted barley and produced at a single distillery. Then you've got grain whiskey, which is produced in a column or a coffee still. Now a coffee still has nothing to do with coffee. It's just named after the guy who created it. So I'll go into that more in another video. Then you've got blended, which can be any combination of the previous types of Irish whiskey. So Irish whiskey is an old, derives from an old Gaelic term called Ishkabaha. And Ishkabaha is basically water of life. It derives from an old Latin word aquavitae, or phrase aquavitae, which both of them equate to water of life. So whenever you see this word Ishkabaha, that is how you pronounce it. Looks nothing like that though. And I totally get it. It took me a little bit of time to get that right. So in the early 1800s, Irish whiskey was huge. It was predominantly across the UK, and it was just gigantic. At that time, Scottish whiskey was like kind of an afterthought. It was mostly being used for blends. And yes, it was doing its own thing, but Irish whiskey was doing it before Scotch. So don't crucify me. I'm just telling it like it is. Anyway, in the early 1900s, the Irish whiskey saw a decline. So they were great for about a century, and then just boom, just gone. And a lot of Irish whiskey distilleries closed down. And the only ones that actually stuck around for the single pot style were Green Spot and Redbreast. And so you can find those now. And when you drink them, you know that you're drinking a little bit of history. Those two made it. And even at that time, they were kind of boutiquey. They were produced for special occasions. So one of the last things I want to tell you about is Jameson and Tullamore Dew. As I mentioned before, they are known to be triple distilled, and most of you will know those or have tried them, especially Jameson. It's one of the most popular whiskeys in the world. But it doesn't have to be. Like, Irish whiskey does not have to be triple distilled. And you know, you might not understand this, and that's fine, but distillation essentially removes a lot of the stuff in whiskey, right? So it evaporates and then it condenses. I won't go into all the mechanics of distillation right now, but when you do that over and over and over again, your whiskey gets crisper and it gets lighter, and it removes a lot of the proteins and the oils from that whiskey, and it leaves some of the esters, which still maintain the nose and the taste. So you're actually getting this light, crisp whiskey that's pretty enjoyable, honestly. Irish whiskey is great. So you should know that there is now currently a resurgence, which is just an awesome thing. There are so many new distilleries opening up in Ireland that you're going to be seeing lots of new stuff over the next few years. Now, a lot of stuff right now is sourced from a couple of the big names in Irish whiskey, like Cooley. And you know, you might have heard of Teeling whiskey. Most of their stuff is coming from Cooley, but they are aging their own stuff now, and it's going to be out in a couple of years, I think. So lastly, I want you to know, just there's a ton more information. I want to make this video quick, but if you check out some of the playlists that you'll see right at the end of this video, there's going to be one about my beginner Irish whiskey list, which includes a couple of these actually, and then another one about just all the Irish whiskeys that I've reviewed. And specifically check out Bushmills if you want to know more about history, because I covered a decent amount in there. So thank you very much for joining me here on the Whiskey Dictionary. Look forward to all of these, including the glasses, these are new glasses, and I'm actually really excited to review them. So look forward to that this month on the Whiskey Dictionary, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.